Welcome to today's live stream brought to you by HDI local chapters and produced by Spiller Studios. I am excited today because we are proud to welcome our first and biggest sponsor of the show, Robert Half Technology, for our official live stream channel. Robert Half Technology is a leading provider of technology professionals needed to build, deploy, and operate technology in the cloud and digital world. Okay, so today's show, if you can't tell, we're a little dressed up today. Today's show is called Career the Next Generation. And my guest today is Tori Paulman. Tori, did I say that right?
You got it.
All right. Tori is the Director of IT Client Services at Pegasystems, a leader in cloud software for digital transformation. Tori brings a unique background in human-focused IT services, in particular, focusing on delivering high-quality end-user interactions, implementing new technology, production acceptance, and change management. Welcome to the show, Tori.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be invited.
That's awesome. And you know what? I wanted to say, like, for those people that are used to me, I tend to dress up goofy. And so I thought today, since we talked about today's title being, career, the next generation, it would be cool for us to dress up. So, and for all you Trekkies, I am not a Trekkie, but I do have the proper amount of pips for number one. I'm not the captain. So just want to point that out there. So Tori, let's get started. We only have, you know the rules of the game. We only have a short period of time here, and I wanted to ask you to lead off question is, because I started off in technology. I didn't start off in a technology career, and I fell into it. So I'm always curious to hear other people's stories of how they got into IT. So Tori, how'd you get into the technology as a career?
Yes, well, so I want to beam myself up here, but I'm so glad you shared a little bit about who I am today, but it did not start out that way. Like, in fact, I often say that my technology career started in 1986 when my grandparents gave my brother and I our first Nintendo Entertainment System. I'll still remember the day we brought it home. My mom and my brother were gingerly unpacking every part of the box and reading the instructions. And I literally had the thing hooked up to the back of the TV. I'm battling the first level of Super Mario Brothers. And my mom looks up and she's furious. I hadn't followed the instructions. She made me unhook everything, follow the steps to daisy chain it through the VCR, which by the way, never worked again. It just never didn't work. And I really largely credit that as that moment when my fearlessness for exploring technology and curiosity. But the thing is, and I would appreciate that if you didn't tell my boss this, I'm not a technologist. I just feel comfortable with technology. It's an enabler for me to get what I want, which if you think about really my, tech career started about a decade later when I took this job as a service writer, basically because I needed a job at an Apple authorized reseller. And I'm probably dating myself here, but this is before the Apple Store existed. Such a thing. And, my job was to translate customer problems into symptoms that then the service technicians could understand and fix, and always upsell RAM, no matter what, upsell RAM. So what I discovered was taking the first experience and the second experience, I was really at home in this role of being like an interpreter between the geeks, no offense to everyone, and the service center and the customer. And I found that people were actually much more apt to spend the money on that RAM, which was expensive at the time, if we could do it while they were watching, or if we could do it while they were shopping. So I leaned into this experience of feeling comfortable around technology, native around technology, even before technology native was a thing, and used it to fuel the rest of my career and have used it in many different roles.
So, as you mentioned, we've come a long way since you and I have gotten to technology because we talked about this before the show. I kind of fell into it. Yeah, I mean, Apple was a fruit, and maybe named Lisa at the time. Sorry. And I shared with you that my first computer was a Commodore 64, so that's really dating myself. But so, a lot has changed. We're into 2020, and you hear so much in the industry right now about artificial intelligence and automation taking our jobs. As someone that's
Yeah.
looking to into or stay in the technology field, should we really be worried about that?
No, we should not be worried about it. We should be really excited about it. And here's why I think so. We have to, when we talked about this before, we have to realize that the reality is that we're not, most of the time when we're researching problems or applying solutions, they're not new problems. They're not novel solutions. So this is where we can use AI and automation as this like superpower that because I mean, seriously, who wants to answer the same questions over and over again? And most help desks are answering the same questions over and over again. Not me, but a chatbot doesn't mind. At least now. Eventually, when they humanize, they'll mind. But so an example that I recently took my teams through as a like training for why leveraging and nurturing a knowledge base makes sense is we took a typical incident that gets reported to our support teams, and we entered it into Google. And I'm going to ask you, guess how many answers we got?
How many answers? I guess a lot, right?
1.5 million
Oof.
hints now, or
Wow.
hits. I can remember when that was 10,000, but 1.5 million solutions, right?
Wow.
So then we took that problem, that same incident, and we entered it into our knowledge base, and we got two solutions, one of which was the right solution that had been created by someone that worked with them. So now if you take that and you apply it to 100 incidents a day, and of those 100 incidents, employees could describe them 10 different ways. Now we've got 150 million possible solutions that we're trying to apply in a day, right? If we're doing it that way. So as someone now, of course, who's responsible for scaling support and service offerings around the globe, around the clock, I am, of course, all for anything that allows my support organization to be more consistent, more responsive, more available. And this is like, for me, this is the really big that allows me to put human superpowers to work. So this is the second half of that question. Should we be afraid? No, we should be excited. What about what we're going to do? And an example is like investing in something like our automated solutions, whether it's like self-healing automations or it's chatbots or it's something else you're working on. We actually get to use our human interpretation skills, right? What I used at the beginning of my career to sell RAM to groom the automation to be more effective and ultimately to be more pleasurable for our employees. Then, and this is what's in it for us, that's what's in it for the company. What's in it for us is this gives us the ability to invest our energy into developing the things that humans are really good at, which is listening, which is troubleshooting, which is connecting with those that we support and increasing our ability. It's like we're the coach. The one other example I would use is like, self-driverless cars, right? People, when driverless cars are coming out, the thing about driverless cars is that they can follow all the rules. We can tell them every rule in the book and they can follow those rules. But what about when someone cuts them off? What about that's when humans come in, and that's our superpower, is to take everything we know and be like more flexible. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So I want to change. I want to move, change direction a little bit. We talked about
Yeah.
like the automation and technology, but when I'm I know as a manager, even when I'm hiring technical people, there are skills that I look for that may not be technical. So Tori, could you share with the audience, in your opinion, like what does a talent profile look like for the next generation in technology?
Yeah, right. Really interesting people, actually. But like, I could tell you 100 stories about how being at ease with technology, that first thing, the Nintendo, the NES thing, combined with being curious and open to trying new things, has given me opportunities to do what I want in life. But technology doesn't define me. So when I'm hiring, I'm not looking for degrees in computer science or otherwise. Although I won't mind saying that some of my best hires have either had a degree in psychology or a stint in the Apple store. So I think that tells you more about their talent profile than it does about mine, for example. But what I really want to know and what you should be putting out there is what makes you an interesting human. Like, what inspires you? What have you done in your life that is that's fun and interesting, that's like creating you as a human being? What do you do when you don't know the answer? And I'll give you a hint, a big one. What do you do when you really mess up? You wouldn't believe the number of times I ask in an interview, like, tell me about a time, recall a time when you made a big mistake. And people cannot recall a single time where they made a huge mistake. And I'll tell you a like super hint, that's not normal. I can still viscerally remember a time that I accidentally wiped a creative director's computer's hard drive by using, again, this was my cocky technical ease, a flag on a script. I didn't understand what it meant, right? So you're going to make mistakes. That's human, but how do you weather them and improve your approach? That's what makes you someone that I would want to hire. In short, it sounds silly, but I'm looking for the most human-y humans to hire, because I can teach them technology skills. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I agree, I agree with you, because I think a lot of technology managers will say, "I can teach you the technology. It's the
Yeah.
other stuff." And I think about like non-technical fields, like the airlines. The big airline that likes to sing and do dances and things. When they're either doing the safety stuff or just throughout the
Yeah,
thing. That's what makes it enjoyable to customers, right? I mean, that's what I would
absolutely.
think, right? Yeah.
Well, that's what leaves a memory, right? And that's the reality of the work that we're in. People don't call us when they're having a great day, right? We're always there at people's worst. And if we can be the kind of person that people want to be around when they're having a bad day, that's going to make us successful.
I'm just reading the chats here. Anyone else delete the company distro list by accident? Yeah.
Oh, I want to hear all these mistakes. Oh, I
Yeah,
hope
this
I get
is
to see those.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And I've made some mistakes that weren't technical mistakes, but they were still big boo boos in not that area. So, but believe it or not, Tori, we only have a few minutes left. So I want to ask you,
Oh,
as a person looking to get into technology, what should I be focusing on to make myself the best candidate out there to you or anybody else that's hiring?
yeah, I mean, you should be trying things, right? I'm all for picking a topic and diving deep. I'm all for the YouTube video hole that we all go into, the Wikipedia hole, but really trying lots and lots and lots of different things and coming to the table with a lot of interesting experiences that you can apply to different problems. I think for me, it was, and also I think you should be honest about. You should be, let me say this, and I think Ben would agree, right? You should be able to say, our friend Ben would say that you should be able to stretch yourself when coming into a role. Like for example, when I got a job at Lucasfilm, I went into that job saying I can support Windows devices. I didn't say I have supported Windows devices. I just said I could, right? And so I think if you're entering into this career, being someone who has the conviction and the confidence in yourself, but then also being able to back that up with research skills, connection skills, human interaction skills, that's going to set you up for success no matter where you go, whether you stay in support or you go from support to back end infrastructure. I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, and just for those of you that Tori mentioned, Ben is Ben Brennan, who, by the way, he was our first guest on episode 1, and he was
I
author of a
am
book.
jealous.
Yeah, well, he was,
First,
he made me call him Ben. He's my best friend, but I didn't say that, and he gave me grief for that. But he wrote a book called Badass IT Support, and Tori, he also must have a lot of badass friends, because that's how I met you, and you're definitely one of them. So we have a minute left. I want you to share really quickly the story you talked about your interview with Lucasfilms. I thought that was pretty neat about
oh
their three
yeah,
strike rule.
and it's funny because in the interest of time, I decided not to share it, but I'm glad we get to go there. So again, this comes back to being an authentically you, right? So when I went to interview at Lucasfilm, one of the things they do is they take candidates on a tour of the campus, and as you might imagine, it's a lot of movie props, right? And so you're walking around the campus, and you walk up to something, the Darth Vader, the original Darth Vader statue, and you go, oh, cool, right? Or sometimes people go, oh, cool, right? They have that experience. And so Lucasfilm actually has at least it did when I was hired, a 3 cool rule that if you said cool with that level of intensity more than 3 times, you weren't there for the job. You weren't really connected to what you were
Just there
going
for the fun
after. You
stuff.
were there for the Lucasfilm, right? And
Yeah.
Star Wars. And I think that's a lesson in being authentically you, and really going after the roles that feel like a stretch for you, that feel like something you want to spend most of your waking day doing, right?
Right.
And also being a little bit a little bit guarded about like what you share in that interview experience, being able to be authentically you and also remember that you're there for that role.
Correct.
Hopefully that resonates.
Oh, it is the red alert.
Oh,
It is
no!
the end of the show.
Beam
So
me
we
up.
will have to call it, a show. Tori, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and being our guest.
Oh, yeah.
And in closing, Tori's, you can find her on LinkedIn. Follow her. Believe me, she's got a lot of cool stuff to say. I'm following her on a lot of different things, and you do a lot of, like conferences and things. And I do want to remind everybody to visit hdilocalchapters.org to find out more about HDI local chapters. And and also my email address is on the screen. Please email me if you have topics that you would like us to talk about on the show, because we're always looking for cool stuff. And just to give you a little glimpse, next week we're going to have a few guests on talking about cool things that techies might want for Christmas, for the holidays.
Ooh.
And then we'll follow that up with a wrap up of 2020. See where that's going. So again, thank you all. Thank you, Tori. I appreciate you coming on the
Tom,
show.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me to be the captain for today.